Cool.
Hey everybody, I hope you've had a wonderful 7 days since the last time that we've spoken. We've currently got 22 people in the room. I'm just submitting everybody. All right, hope you're all well. Lovely to see you all. Today we've got a very special guest, Brother John. What I'm going to do is just get him to introduce himself to you and sort of tell you how we met, and then we'll open it up to any questions you wish, whether it's for me or John, and we'll have a great show. So, Brother John, take it away.
Yes. Thank you. Pleasure to meet everybody. So I met Brother Josh close to a year and a half ago. Like many of you, I was seeking um, because things didn't make sense. Things around me didn't make sense. Things that I saw, experienced didn't make sense. So we go on this journey of seeking, right, to see the King, as Brother Josh says. Um, and we met on a chat. Someone linked us together, and we started talking. First, it started with email communications, which turned into text messages, which turned into daily phone calls for quite some time. And we would just share our experiences. Brother Josh was helping me on this journey of awakening. And it resonated so well with me that I told myself everything that I think I know, I really have to let go. Because when you're on this journey, it goes against everything we think we know. So I did that, and um,
Would you
lo and
say,
behold, I
I was going to say, where would you say you sort of started at in when we started to communicate? Where were you in your awareness? Where were you your level of food consumption and just your level of experience you were having with this world and earth at that particular time? And then we'll go into sort of where you've come and moved from, and then we'll take some questions from you.
okay. So I was already vegan, but not the proper vegan. I enjoyed, French fries and chips, those vegan ice creams. That's where I was, and I was extremely overweight. I'm 6'1", and at that time I weighed 285 pounds. Right now, when I finished the water fast that I participated in with you guys just silently, I went down to 150. But obviously, that's with also a year and a half of Brother Josh's guidance with food. And as far as my level of awareness, spirituality wise, I grew up in a Catholic household and embodying all the organized religion teachings. I knew a lot of things didn't make sense, so I was looking into that. At the same time, I was just stuck in the commerce world and didn't know this level of freedom existed. But I've been guided, been helped to see the light by Brother Josh,
That's
like
beautiful.
many here.
And through the experience of food that you had, coming from 285 pounds, that process of 1.5 years of slowly progressing through the transitional food,
Yeah.
what sort of heightened experiences or heightened awareness would you say? Because I can remember expressing to you when we first started speaking what you should expect, like the clairvoyance and
Oh
sort of
yeah.
the telepathy and things like this. And
Right. Right.
how did that grow into your beingness as you progressed?
Um.
And can maybe you explain the first time you ever experienced sort of this clairvoyance?
it's that within itself is an awakening, to think that you can communicate or feel certain things, or in a sense feel what someone else is feeling or thinking without it being said. When Brother Josh used to tell me that, I said, that's interesting. I couldn't fully resonate with that. But as time progressed, I mean, there were times where I would just go out and I called Brother Josh after. I said, everybody's just saying hi to me randomly. Someone that's just putting their bike together, or someone at the grocery store would say hi. Usually everybody's just in their own world. Everybody, we call it the Walking Dead. Everybody's just there doing the motions. But that was some of the first interactions that I got. And I mean, where I'm at now, um, sometimes it gets difficult when, because someone's in a sense speaking, and it's almost like you're feeling a completely different conversation with that person, which tells you, you almost want to say to the person, it's not what you're doing or feeling or seeing, but then it causes that tension. And because I still exist where I'm constantly around others, I have to really learn how to just silence that. And one of the biggest teachings is just to be the observer, not to dance, not to be the one dancing and engaging in these emotions, but just to observe what's happening and allow everything to be a lesson or a message or something to learn from. But yes, that level of those six senses are, if you would ask me a year ago, do you believe in it? I would have said, mm, no. But now, if you ask me, if you do the work, yeah, it's very much real, and it gets stronger and stronger. But as it gets stronger, your level of control for the being has to match that. Otherwise, you're gonna be out of balance. And there were times where I was just telling people, I said, I'm just gonna tell everybody the way it is. Oh yeah, yeah, that was a tough time for me as far as relationships, because you want to say, that's not what you're trying to tell me. You're trying to say this, this, and that. And then you start to see the level of cognitive dissonance within people. Even if you're giving them the truth, they don't want it. And you're like, what did I do? My line at one point was, tell me where my lie is.
Mhm.
They couldn't point out the lie, but they make all these other excuses for what was happening, what they were feeling. So um, that's why the journey, it's Brother Josh says balance all the time, and you have to be balanced, because as these things come to you, you got to raise your vibration, you got to match it, your level of overstanding has to be there. Otherwise, you're gonna you're gonna feel too much pressure, and it's not a good feeling, especially when you're on a journey of just peace and love and trying to connect with your higher self. Your environment, your surroundings, your feelings, they all play a role, and we have to learn how to balance that all out.
I think the ego, this is where it comes into serious play with the awareness, because as we grow with these senses or the perception, we almost have to try to really get to grips with this egoic mind that still wants to shine or show, or maybe that you were saying, to tell everybody you know exactly what they're thinking, exactly what they're feeling, but they're not honest enough or have
Yeah.
the capability to be able to share this. So what we need to learn to do at that moment is to just observe things and allow them to be. Because if
Mm-hmm.
they're saying what they want to say, there's one thing that we cannot do, and that's change anybody's will. Because will is this driving force within every single being here. Now, everybody knows if they're lying to themselves. And it takes someone in true mastery as they raise these perceptions to also know that everybody is on their own individual journey here, and we
Mm-hmm.
can't change anything or anyone. If someone's ready to receive the information, they will receive this information. And all we can do is point. And with the pointings, if someone walks it, and takes the action they need, they really will progress up this ladder, this Jacob's ladder, this vibrational step that we need to take to really raise awareness, consciousness with our physical and spiritual to merge with this wonderful magnetic experience we have here. And I just remember going through, we spent a lot of time, and you ended up getting really focused on law, and you spent a lot of time on law to free yourself with the material world. And I feel like we share the same outcome for what the law is and what purpose it serves. And understanding that consciousness creates everything, and everything is exactly how it's supposed to be at any given moment. Would you like to share anything about the law journey or anything like this before we go into some questions?
Sure, sure. I mean, the law within itself, the system that we exist in, um, I entered that because I saw too much injustice from businesses I had. Why is all my money going to these attorneys? Why are they able to do these things? Why are they able to dictate that I can't give free product away to people that need medicine, right? Why is this lawsuit so all these things happened, and on this what I would call my awakening journey, we start to seek. And I said, okay, I got to learn this law. And I started to get into the law, and I really started to see just how this system has set itself up, what we call Babylon, the Matrix, how it's really set itself up to enslave the people. But when you go down that road, I mean, studying statutes and codes and all the law books, it's going to take you. I know people in this freedom law movement that have dedicated their entire life to it, 60s now, 70s, 80s, and
Are
not
they
even
free?
they, huh?
Are they free?
And they're still not free. It's they're still not free. Is it good to understand where you exist in this realm and the type of system that exists so that you have the basic foundation of how I should operate, how I can operate? Yes, and that doesn't take too long. That takes a few hours of somebody explaining to you what they've studied, right? For example, my last son that was born was he's going to be turning 2. On the very top of the birth certificate, it says certificates, plural, of live birth and fetal death. Now, if one looks at that word, you're going to say certificates is plural, so this application is giving me two things. It's the live birth, which will generate the birth certificate, but why does it say fetal death? Why is fetal death mentioned in the title? And I have the paper. I'll share it with Brother Josh. Maybe we could attach it to the video after this that gets edited. But it's because what they're truly doing is they're killing the living being on paper, and they create the artificial person which they control. And I think that's maybe the most important thing that we should know, is that we are not who they say we are. As Brother Josh's name is Nami, or it can be NA, which is not applicable to me, because we don't associate ourselves with the names. We have God given callings, we have family names. So going down that path of law, which I'm still on, but when spirituality came into play and the higher consciousness, that's when the level of overstanding started to come in, because I would read something and then all of a sudden the pieces just got put together in my mind for me. I'll read one small thing and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, this is the entire structure that exists for them. This is all their steps. This is what they're doing. So there's many that just study, 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 but when you have that connection with the higher self, you have a much greater overstanding. And not only that, you're more at peace, because when you start to really see how they structured this what we call slave system, it is very upsetting. It's very upsetting, and you're gonna be reading with some type of anger, and it's not gonna serve, it's not gonna serve your being at all, at least not for our purpose here. um, I feel, and I've shared this with Brother Josh, that there is one true reason that we exist here, and that's to find our way back and not to continue on this. I believe it's the samsara cycle, Josh, right?
Yeah, the psycho
Yeah,
samsara.
yeah.
And the law,
So,
I would
mhm.
say, if I just add in here, it it serves a great purpose. It's there to trap the minds of the unconscious beings, to create a system to govern the minds of people who need their mind governed until they have the capacity to free themselves. Now, we feel pain in this pain body experience as a part of this awareness. And in that system, all we feel is pain. So the pain that we feel is being separate from source. And everything created within the Babylon or the Babylon system frees us. But we must look at it in that way, because any separation from source, whether it be food from a supermarket that contains plastic that makes us feel a certain way when we eat it, or the food created by man that makes us feel very ill, all those types of industries there, they create pain body experiences. Waiting in a queue is a pain body experience. Dealing with the telephones is a pain body experience. Paying a mortgage is a pain body experience. Having to drive a car or pay for a car to go to work in, which pays for the car to drive to work in, is a pain body experience. Leaving your children to a school system is a pain body experience. Having your children sit in front of the telly because you have no time for yourself, or the land or the family around you because everybody's separate, is a pain body experience. So the closer we get back to God, that we, or source, we find these pain body experiences leaving us. So if we go to land and we tour the land and we plant the trees, we don't need the shops to serve us anymore. You're removing the pain body experience. You homeschool your children, they learn to love, they don't need telly. There's a less pain body experience. And we continue to grow through this. But law itself, law backwards is a wall. Now, this wall, you don't want to run into the wall. You must climb over the wall. And in a stand was presented to you at this time. Now, God in the Bible, this is where the Bible has a really great verbiage that you can really grip onto, is that God is not a respecter of persons. Now, this has a dual-edged meaning, that a person is an identity or a corporation. The persona that man has is the mask that you cannot see through the eyes of God with, in a spiritual sense. Because if we identify with our physical body, we'll never find the self, and the self is the observer of all these things. But in the law sense, a person is a created character to do commerce or business with, or busyness, should I say. So, is there anything you would like to speak about that, John? Just to add on to what I said, because I was just getting a bit deep in there. So, if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, you know how I can go, brother. We start talking about one aspect, and I mean, there's been times we just dive so deep into trying to truly break down a meaning of something. But no, it's well put. Here's one thing I will add with the law. Some people that have done this for years and studied all the books and all that have learned how to win in court using the Bible. If you get put in jail, there's one book that they can't deny you, and that's the Bible. And there's remedy within the Bible. And I know two people now that I've spoken to that have won in court because they were able to change the jurisdiction of the court
They were
by
in
using
jail, yeah.
the
They
scriptures.
were they were in jail at the time.
In jail.
Yeah.
One was during a hearing. He said, "For the record, does it show that I have repented of my sins and asked for forgiveness?" So he's trying to change the way the judge looks at him, because when you come in there, he looks at you as a dead fictional person that the state created. But what they try to do, and this is in very lamest terms, is switch the jurisdiction to get recognition that I'm not that dead fictional person. I'm a god, and my laws are not your laws, they're the laws within this book. And they've been successful.
So the person that we were
Mm-hmm.
speaking of a second ago within the commercial realm is the mask. And if you have belief that you are this name or the enemy, which it is, then you create contracts with that going on a day-to-day basis through life, believing that you are this commodity, believing that you are a tool, which creates your enslavement. To free yourself from that as God sees through the eyes of men, whether it be women or men, or man or woman, then you're free. And to know that you're a man in any given situation or mankind is the highest form of awareness that you need within the legal system. It doesn't matter if you have a birth certificate and you do commerce. What matters is at any given time, you truly know who you are. You
Mm-hmm.
have the right to remain silent. Anything you do say will be used against you. So, in the knowingness that you are not a person within the material world, you have that freedom. And then to find that freedom within the spiritual sense, to disconnect from the ideas that has accumulated over a period of time to your belief that you are this person, the material man, governed by the laws of this physicality, then you find no freedom. So we'll move on now. I feel that we could take some questions and then we can let this flow wherever it wants to be. But we hope that you've enjoyed it so far. And Brother John is here with us today. So is there anybody that would like to ask a question? Either put your hand up or press the hand up button. Dory, would you like to come on and ask a question, sister?
Yes, hello everyone.
Good day,
Hello
sister.
everyone. Much love to you. Um, yeah, so John, fantastic to meet you. I'm so grateful that you're here today. So thank
Oh,
you for joining us, and thank you, Josh,
thank you.
for inviting John. My
Absolutely.
question is, we've been really looking. We looked at straw man many years ago, and trying to learn more. Unfortunately, the people that had introduced us to it made it seem like it was an elitist club. Let's be honest. They were like, "Oh yeah, we don't have to, and oh it's going to be very confusing for you, and you have to know these things." And they made it very difficult. So we knew in our hearts that these just weren't the correct people to learn the information from. Um, and yeah, for whatever reason, they were doing their thing. So really, what are the next steps? I'm sure everyone in the X fam would love to jump on land, be part of this wonderful lifestyle and life and living, true living, as it is meant to be. So what are our next steps? Where would you suggest pointing us?
Well, I would say that first of all, you need to break the fear from it. And then this is when community needs to come into play because no corporation can actually legally own anything. It's just through the illusion of contracts. Now, every single contract can be beaten by a living man because the dead entity or the corporation that has it is only just through pen. This is the penal system, the all pen system. So what we would need to do is to be able to find community, to be able to find a location where everyone is happy in that presented community to coexist together and then go on the land. Now, as long as nobody has ownership of that land, so it's virtuous and we're not taking anybody's land, the land is our inherent right as man. Okay, if you look at the law dictionary as persons are not inherent to land and they have to pay taxes, but man is inherent to the earth. So at any given time, for an example, if a local government or a council came and had a word with you, at that initial meeting, they would try to establish a name, and that name would obviously then be able to try and create this verbal contract. But the only thing that ties everybody into their contractual law with their property is an address. Now, the address has come from the post office. The post office was the original court. So if the place you're existing has no address, this is creating no legal identity for that. So it's free. But all you need to do is play it in a sensible way where everybody has that awareness that they are free, man and woman, here on the land, creating a community for coexistence, and not to engage in any contracts with that land. No address, no postal address. And just that is as simple as that. Now, if anybody has fear of this, all that one needs to do is just go through the steps and the motions with the logical thinking process that if you know that you're a man and a woman and a corporation is coming to you, as the paper trail goes back, because this is all prosecution is filing of paperwork, how can the paperwork that needs to be filed be sent somewhere without an address?
Right.
It can.
You can't.
It can. And if there's no name given to that address, how can it be addressed to an addressee under that address? It can. It can. And this is the way that man really needs to get together to go forward with the future. But I do understand if people want to create a space where they can use the monetary system as such, but still be in the cognitive awareness that they are not the person, they are the man, and use the system and interact with it in a way they can still live a wonderful, fruitful life. But it depends on the capacity of obviously the bank accounts and things like this, and the ability to interact with the matrix. I'll pass it over to Brother John now to see if he wants to add anything in, and then maybe bring some more clarity.
Yes. The scripture, render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar and render to God what belongs to God. That is a very important verse and something to truly overstand when you operate in this commerce. Because like Brother Josh said, they've changed and they have coerced you to use their system. They created the zip code. When you use the zip code, you give them jurisdiction. And you agree like CA on the applications instead of writing it out properly. You're using their terms, you're giving them jurisdiction, you're basically agreeing that I am part of this world. When you use the name that's on the birth certificate, you're basically saying, I am that dead fiction that you created, and that which one creates, one controls. So everything they do, everything created is to trick you, even when you go to court. Let me see. Dory mentioned, the term straw man. Even that what in itself is a little bit misleading, because what it truly is, it's a trust. It's an estate. They have created a trust structure for your person. And there's a saying, I don't know if it's by the Rockefeller family or the Chase family. It says, own nothing and control everything. And what they mean by that is putting together a trust structure. Because when you have a trust, you put all your house, your cars, your toys, you put it in the trust, and you no longer own it. The trust owns it. but you just have beneficial interest in it. I just get to use the house. I just get to use the car lawfully, but it's no longer under my name. My trust now owns it. So if something were to happen to me, somebody sued me, wanted to go after me, let's just say I had a new wife, or I got married, had a wife, she thought I was so wealthy and said I'm gonna go after all his stuff. She can't go after my trust. She can go after me, but I don't own anything. So the trust structure gives us that protection, and that's what they do in court. That's why the first thing they want to do is, Joe Smith, are you here? Case number, and we're like, yeah, here, that's me. In the judge's mind, he said, this person just gave me jurisdiction over them, and what I'm gonna do is they're usually in our day to day, we're just the beneficiaries. We just get to use the birth certificate name. We just have beneficial interest. We get to use it, but we didn't create it. We didn't make it. We just get to use it. But the trick here is that the trustee has all the liability. They are the ones that's liable for anything that gets charged to that birth certificate name. So when you go to court, the judge knows that he has the liability. The state has the liability because that which one creates, one controls, and we just have beneficial rights. But what they do is their game is to trick you. They're going to make you temporary trustee while they penalize you, they give you a fine so that you're responsible. So,
We're losing you a bit.
and again, so that they get all the benefits of the labor of that, what people call straw man, I call an estate trust. So it's all trickery within that, and it's just realizing again, Caesar what belongs to Caesar on us. That's why we have to find our way back to
Brother
grow this
John,
natural food. They some code. Mm-hmm.
your signal's dipping in and dipping out.
Mhm.
I can maybe turn off the camera just for 1 minute while you're speaking there, and then
Oh,
just be a little bit busy where you are at the moment, if you can.
okay. How do I turn off my camera?
But see, if you can set something up called a private trust company, then that private trust company is
we go.
actually a new created strawman as such. Now, this can be used as
Yeah.
a collective for the community to be able to integrate in a commercial way, to be able to get everything they need and still have everybody under that community as a beneficiary to get full use over these things without being liable and creating contracts with your own individual beingness
Mhm.
with your own strawman. So there are many ways to integrate with this. Setting up a private trust company is kind of tricky, and it can be done. And this is probably where people such as ourselves are going to be moving forward in the future. But there's so many different ways to be able to establish what you're looking for. But it just depends on the man. The olden days they had the travelers, and travelers would just set up anywhere. And if they were able to just create a fence around them and plant some trees, they could live there forever, creating no contracts. But as we've progressed, the trickery has sort of been fed into the families of the travelers, and they now create contracts. They go to work. They need their national insurance numbers, things like this, so they don't necessarily have the same rights as they used to. Well, not rights, they don't have the same natural rights as they used to. So again, it's just really understanding who you are and know that if you walk this realm as highest of high, which is I am I, you have the ability to do as you please as long as you're not causing anybody harm, injury, or loss, which is when a virtuous man is living by the virtues. This is not what we do. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I mean, we could probably talk a whole week around this, maybe longer.
Definitely. It's a
No,
big can of worms to open up, but it's definitely something that needs to be spoken of.
yeah, and I honestly, I think, you know, step by step, bit by bit, as we continue to raise our vibration as well, these answers and these paths will also open up unto us. They'll open, the doors will open and we'll see those opportunities. I truly believe that these will be presented as well as we continue to raise our vibration. So
Yeah, naturally, there's beings who are enjoying the spirituality and growing their mind, as there's beings that are, you know, practicing on these private trust companies, and everybody will merge and it'll all create one big collective mind. And through that process, the whole collective will find the greatest experience here together in unity, which is exactly what we're looking for.
absolutely. Thank you both. Thank you, John. Thank you, Josh.
Thank
Good to
you,
see
Dory.
you, X family.
Thanks for coming on, sister. Is there anybody else that would like to ask any question they wish? Les, would you like to come on? Oh, sorry, I think I might have muted you there instead of asking you to unmute. There we go.
Unmute.
Good day, sister.
Thanks, Brother Josh, Brother John. And this is just so familiar to me. I can't explain why, but I've spent my life in legal battles with things that people didn't really get. And before I left home when I was quite a young child, I changed my name, and I've never had the name that was on my birth certificate. And it's driven people insane. So I left Zimbabwe quite young and I went to live in South Africa, and I had a different name in South Africa. And strangely enough, nobody asked for my birth certificate. So I was able to just use a different name. Then I went to live in England, and the same thing again. I just managed to carry on with this name. And I've never had anything that tied in with my birth certificate. And now I'm in my late 50s. Everything's just got so hectic because now trying to have a property and sell a property, and then my name doesn't tie up with the it's just it's been on and on, an ongoing journey for me. But somehow in me, I knew as a young child I didn't want that name on my birth certificate. So it's really bizarre for me now. It's not something I've known, but it's just feeling familiar to me. So does it help if we change our name and we don't have that name that we were registered with, or is that just immaterial?
I would say that depending on if you change your name legally or you change it on a day-to-day basis through the people that are familiar to you, because registering something again is of the crown. Regis is of the crown or the king. So again, you're only given ownership over to that trust account.
Well, it's just literally in the last, just before lockdown, what we've had now, I went to the deed poll office in England and I asked them to just please try and give me paperwork so that I had everything in one name. I've only just done it now. I've dug myself in, and it's taken, it's all these years now that I've managed to weasel around with other names, and now I've gone and put everything in this one name. It's just quite bizarre, and it was difficult to do. I haven't gone back to my birth name, but I've gone and said, okay, I've created this other name, and that's who I now am. So now
they
I want
to create another entity, give you another national insurance number and those types of,
no, I haven't got all that, but I've just got a deed poll certificate which says I now go by this name. So I don't know.
Well, as long as you know who you are in your capacity, and that's a being of God, you're going to remain free in any situation. You just can't break into fear. But you can see that having to deal with that separation from source again has created a pain body experience in your awareness. It's not comfortable as such, but it's just there to make you feel and see this. But well done for not having anything. And I think a lot of us, as we grow, through this, especially being in the age of technology, I can remember when I was younger, I never had a Facebook in my whole entire life. I never wanted to be a part of that and keep my identity separate from what I truly was, because I knew I was not what this identity was telling me. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
if
my
I
questions
may
are
add
really
to
the
that,
same as Dory's, is how do we, where do we start with this now? Because now I'm ready. I just want to jump out and find some land. I'm out of here. I'm so ready for this. I really am. This is all, I'm there.
Good. Brother John, did you want to say something?
yeah, I just wanted to give 2 pointers to Les, and I'm going based off of the names on the screen. Um, Copyright your name, because when you do that, you protect yourself from them trying to create anything from it or use it. Because when you copyright something, they need permission from you to use it. Like if I want to go sell hamburgers at the corner and use the name McDonald's, I can't because it's copyrighted. They own that. So you can copyright your name, and then as far as your property being in your name, just put it in a trust. Put it in a trust, and then you get to just navigate that trust. Well, you're the you own beneficial interest in the trust, and you can. That's why all the wealthy people have their properties in trust. You
And
could
their
still
post
move it
box
freely. You don't
outside.
need the name. Yeah. Huh?
And their post box is outside of their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll notice that a lot of big properties don't have a post box inside their house or a letterbox. It's outside of the property, which is a big thing.
All the elite families, they have places to stay within the cities, but their primary addresses, all of them are rural land, and there's a reason for that. There's a very important reason for that. I don't know if anybody's really so-called cracked that code, but they know that primary to be out of the system, they have to be on rural land where it's not controlled within the states, cities, the feds, any of that.
You even notice that as you take a drive out to the rural land, you see there's no policy, there's no police cars driving around. You may see them traveling from one city to the next, but you won't see any patrols. It's a totally different experience in rural land than it is city. And city itself is see it, why, which means the choice. So you see it by choice. And the capital city is the capital. And this is where the belief system that the world is overpopulated is not such a thing. It's the cities are overpopulated, and it creates a mindset of scarcity and fear that all we need to do is literally just walk away from. Being in that mindset or being in that interaction day to day, the energies are around you, and you have to have so much protection within your conscious mind to not allow that to come into you to create a negative vibration. But really, all we need to do is exactly what Truman did in the Truman Show, was to just walk away and inhabit these lands. But together, this is how things can be made much more simply. I was actually looking at some land a few days ago, and I found 100 acres of land in Spain with a property on it, and that was 280,000 euros. Now that divided up for 100 people, it works. The numbers are very good. That would sustain 100 people with an acre each, and you can put non-fixed dwellings on there, even going through the legal system. You don't need a house built out of mortar. You can have a wonderful eco home that has no connection to the Babylon system, the water source, electricity, all off grid. So these things now are going to be coming forward, and the website that we're creating hopefully will be an amazing bridge for that. We'll be able to have people in certain areas or just communicating within the forum to just say, let's do this right now. We can make this happen within the next month. And then we can utilize what we have to be able to then create off-grid systems, plants, trees, everybody just working together to create the food. Markets local, nearby, just for the first 6 months, and then you're free, you're off, you're peaceful, you're growing, and every moment you're healing the inner body, the mind, the spirit connection, which this is why it's so key together. We can do these things faster than on an individual basis, and that's what the Matrix does. In England, where you are, Les, you see that every single, over 65 or 70, they're on their own. They're walking down the road, they're driving the car, they're on their own. They have no family, they have no one to look after them. Children learn from everyone. And they like to learn from what they're seeing, and they don't get the same experience in an individual house where they would in a community of people that are guiding them with virtues, you know. And this whole thing, once you get that holistic picture of how everything's working, is completely against the grain. It's not natural. And once we can go back to this nature, everything is going to make sense. Everything. Peace will be upon us.
Yeah, I've always thought this because, you know, we all have gifts. We are born with very strong gifts if we allow those gifts. And those are the gifts which in community we naturally can do. You can dig the soil and plant the trees. I can, I can teach kids. I can do knitting or sewing or cooking or, you know, we've all got different gifts we can do. And in community, we can help such a rich environment for raising the children. Exactly. We can do it together, you know, and we shouldn't be building higher walls and putting up electric fences. Actually, I live in Cape Town. I've moved now. I've moved to so many different countries. I'm in Cape Town, but it's the same here. We put up a higher wall, then we put an electric fence on that wall, and we separate ourselves more and more. And it's the opposite of what we need to do. Yeah. I'm really ready to live in community, and I'm going to be one of those first 100 on that acre. I'll move to the Algarve or Portugal or somewhere, but I'm ready to move. Yeah. Count me in.
We are definitely moving towards that. And I think 2021 is the year that these steps can be made, because why would anybody want to live somewhere where they can't grow food and they have to go to the shops and they have to deal with these cars and these things on a day-to-day basis just to get from A to B? And, you know, it's very important that we just see ourselves. We live around people that we don't even know or we don't want to be surrounded by. There's no support, there's no love, and you're just paying overpriced things, but these are aspects of our pain body. So once we see that and feel this pain, it's absolutely important that we do action these things. And when we action, then we find that freedom. And let's be that change that we want to see, and show the world how easy it is over this next year to just find space, happiness, peace, and love and community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Lovely to see you again.
I can't wait. Thank you so much. Yeah.
It's really coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anything else, or is that everything? Beautiful. Now, Dietrich.
I press the wrong button. Hello.
Good day, sister.
Yeah, I love where the conversation is going, because this is my thing at the moment, and I'm getting the money side sorted out because I am ready. What you just said about, you know, living in a community, realizing nobody's there for you, etc., 100%. I've been there for so long, and I'm finally like, okay, what's holding you back? Me. So I'm getting my business online this year. I've already getting that sorted so I can learn how to do that. So it doesn't matter where I am in the world, I can do it if I want to do it. Thank you for asking the question, Les, about what do you do with your property and stuff. I haven't heard of this thing called a private trust company or thought about a trust the way you guys have described it. So that's amazing, because I have some things that if I don't have to completely liquidate could actually benefit me in the short term to keep some kind of passive income coming in. But it's how do I protect it so that if something comes to me, it's not liable. So I loved what you guys said about that. I was like, yes, because I've been trying to figure out what to do, and I've looked at the straw man stuff, but it just didn't resonate, and I couldn't really explain why, but I just thought something doesn't feel quite complete or right somehow. So, but this feels better, so I will investigate. And I would love, like, yeah, if things like I've written down, copyright your name, property in a trust, PO box, rural land, you know, off-grid homes, it can still be a in the ground home, it just has to be off grid. Is that right?
Yeah. All you're not having is bricks and mortar and things like that. And, you know, you can have log cabins, you can make eco houses, you can put like where I'm staying right now, you know, we were just here for Christmas, just to be able to get off the roads or off the campsites and stuff while we're still searching. But this is like a porta cabin as such. It's placed in the middle of an orangery. There's about 14 hectares of oranges, lemons, avocados, and things like this here, banana trees, and it looks beautiful. It's got air conditioning, everything in it that you need, and it's obviously cheap, and it's here because they didn't need any registration, which is fine, you know. And then, you know, you would be able to sustain enough power off the solar that you would buy. And I would just suggest things like, you know, underfloor heating off electricity that's coming from the solar panels that creates a warm house throughout the day, warms the feet, air conditioning for the summer, and then just work on the garden. And as a community, you know, everybody has their own acre, everybody grows what they like to grow in their own garden, but have some land where the fruit trees are just in abundance. And you would be able to integrate selling organics, because organic food here, I mean, in Portugal is quite expensive for organic food, and this Portugal is like Spain, but it is 100 years prior to that. And people are starting to move to Portugal because it's not very populated at all. But the weather in the south of Portugal is, you know, you can grow the papayas and the mangoes, even durian grows here. So all of these things that we would like to have as mainly fruitarians in abundance. And also you could grow the normal fruits like the apples and the pears and the peaches and the plums and nectarines, citrus. Citrus goes from November all the way around to sort of September. So you can make sure that logically you can sustain your life somewhere, and the rest can be sold. I mean, where I was going with it, I seen a cabbage today for €6.50 organic for one cabbage, you know. So people are wanting to go towards the organic, but the people that choose to go to work, they still will choose to go to work. Because I've spoken to many people across my awakening from a young boy when I was having to engage in small amounts of work, to say, how can you want to work? Like, do you not want to be with your family and do these things and give them ideas? They wouldn't know what to do with their time. That's what I got. I would be bored if I didn't have if I didn't have work, and I wouldn't want to be around my children all day. And these were the types of answers. So if you just come from that space that everybody's on their awareness, and you know, as ants do the work of the soil and as birds fly, there's just so much separation between the level of awareness within this earth that we just must let it flow. So what will be, and I think that what you're speaking of is right, and what we're saying here is exactly the way we need to go.
No, that's wonderful, because it's wonderful to hear you say all of that, because I'm completely there with you 100%. It's like for the last 2 years, I've been showing myself living in a little bungalow, literally in the middle of land. And it's really funny, when I met you on Charlie Frick and you talked about the fruit forests, you're the first person outside of my vision that has said it, because I literally have seen for more than 2 years now, which is partly why I went to New Zealand at the beginning of this year, because it was one
Ik
of
ben
the
naar iets aan het luisteren wat nog even...
1 second, sorry about that. Muted for you. Carry on.
Okay. It was one of the places I was guided to go to investigate, to see if it resonated with me to be there. But I've seen a little bungalow, 1 or 2 bedroom little bungalow kind of house, and it's literally fruit trees all around. And you know the funniest thing, Josh, is that you've said is I also see the sea. I can smell the sea air from my bungalow.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's really interesting what you said about Portugal, because I came back from New Zealand and I love all the fruit you mentioned, literally all of them. And I want a place where I can grow avocados, because I love avocados.
I know.
And I love the Three Brothers. I was at the Three Brothers in Algarve, Portugal, last October.
Okay.
And my energy completely shifted. You can see it in the pictures. If you look a picture of me now and a picture of me on that beach, the vibrance coming from my skin and my eyes and my whole being, even I have to look at it twice sometimes. Yeah. And so it's really interesting. So I'm thinking, okay, New Zealand felt too far, but you know, Portugal felt amazing. And it was out of the city, it was away from the big town and everything. And I was like, okay, Dhruti, Portugal feels doable. it's like, and now because you're talking about the trust, I'm like, yeah, I can put some of the things in the trust, and then I can make sure I have so much money, look at how much things are going to cost to buy the land, or, to have a dwelling. And then, yeah, just like Les said, I'm ready. And it's like, my family is this. Can you see her?
I noticed the net coming in. Oh, hello, beautiful.
She doesn't like the camera, so she purposely looks away. But basically, she is the one who's there for me. I mean, not literally, well, pretty much. But anyway, so it would be me and her moving. So I'm like, I'm ready to go. So I love the way that conversation is going. Just one question I wanted to ask Brother John was about the food journey from his perspective of like, so we've done the cleanse, and like I've lost 14 kilos and it's still all off, which was so much, was not expecting it, but it's amazing. I've had 2 blips where I've eaten crisps, but I've been raw the rest of the time since the 22nd of December. So fingers crossed, apart from the potato dishes, the kind of the tortilla, I've made that a few times. So I just wondered, are there any, and I was also vegan before. Does Brother John, do you have any tips for just like, to try to stay raw? Because sometimes I get really frustrated with it. I feel like I want to have more different fruit, and I don't have it because it's like, it's January and then I forget to observe myself. And then I'm dying for something that I used to have, it feels like. And then I come back, no, we got to stay on this. Mm-hmm. So I just wondered if, from that game that happens in the head, if you had any, thoughts from your perspective, what you might, suggest or,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There were times there were times that I had to call Brother Josh. I'm like, how do I flush out what's in me because I'm in pain? I shouldn't have ate that sandwich, that vegan sandwich from the store, and I'm now peeing through the wrong side, and it's my second day now. So I'm there with you, but what has really kept me on track is that strong urge to have that connection with the higher self. And that's when I realize, when I feel it, when I eat my fruit, when I drink this juice, you feel just energy. Versus when I want to eat that fry or crisp, once I eat that, I just feel heaviness within my being. I tell people, you're exchanging a lifetime of awakening and connectivity with your higher self for that 10 minutes of temporary pleasure that will cause pain later, right? Yeah. People eat 3 meals a day, maybe take them about 15 minutes to eat each meal. So that's 45 minutes out of 24 hours. Let's give you an hour. So 1 hour in 24 hours is what is causing you to fall so far behind and not be able to connect with the higher self. And that's one perspective. But to answer your question, is there stuff you can do? Yeah, a dehydrator. You can get a dehydrator. You can blend up, some fruits, different fruits. You can make yourself some little tortillas, and then you just throw it in a dehydrator. It'd still be considered raw, and you can enjoy that with like a guacamole dip. Make yourself like a bell pepper tortilla, and you could use that as little chips. Let it dehydrate, and you can enjoy other foods other than fully being raw. Should you have those little cravings?
Yeah, because it's interesting. It's interesting you said about making. I have a dehydrator which I don't use, but I will start using it. It's interesting what you said about the tortillas, because it's almost like when I've had the crisps, it's like I've realized it's not just the salt. It's kind of like the crunchiness. It's something about the texture in my, in how it feels in the mouth, and actually, so I will try that with the I'll look for some recipes to try for the dehydrator and see if that is a good interim, just to, like you said, to have it with the guacamole and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
And it stays raw. It stays raw, especially when you keep it at the right temperature. So,
what would you say is the right temperature?
105.
Okay.
105. You can't go above 105.
Okay. All right.
Even if you make little things like banana slices and then they dehydrate and you can roll them up into little cinnamon rolls and things like this. But this is why I feel like it's so important to get to a space when you're on this journey with the food that you're consuming. Because if you were, for example, living in Portugal now, then you had papaya trees in your garden and bananas and things like this, you would be able to cut 3 off for your breakfast. And to keep yourself satiated and full, I think is an important thing. But when you're having to pay £5 for a papaya that's this big, then it can get expensive. And then you start to think, well, I might sacrifice these foods just to have something a bit more dense, etc. But to be around these foods, I mean, dates are ripening up now. You got the citrus, you got avocados on the trees, you have bananas on the trees, papayas on the trees. So much can be done. And then not only would you, if you had time to create an abundance of dehydrated foods that you could snack on, sweets and things like this, because true treats are treat eats and they come from the tree and you use the sun to dehydrate them. And over time, these systems would be in place where everybody would not need anything but the things that have grown from the garden, and dehydrators, big industrial dehydrators would definitely be a part of the community. You can create pizza bases from zucchini noodles as such, and then put the raw tomatoes on, chop avocados up, grate some peppers, and it'd just be an amazing space to be in, especially if everybody just does a little bit of different things themselves, and you can see where it would just lead to.
Yeah. One question, actually, you mentioned the tortillas with zucchini or potatoes. I had a question about the potatoes. If you eat them more than twice a week, is that creating a lot of candida?
No.
Or,
If you're eating them twice a week, I would say it's probably the best frequency to eat them, because if you stop, like I said previously, and then you have them maybe once every 10 days, you'll find yourself battling candida die-off all the time. So, if you want a little bit in the system, I mean, the candida's not going to thrive. It's not going to overwhelm the system and start creating, diseases and chronic diseases. But you don't want to keep continually having candida die-off, because that's uncomfortable. You'll keep getting like canker sores in the mouth, ulcers and things like this. And then you'll eat them, then you won't eat them and you'll rid it and then it'll come back. So just find that steady balance within yourself until you found an abundance of fruit that you just need to eat. 10 plum trees, just for example, if you had 10 plum trees all ripen at the same time, there's an abundance of plums. Now to sit there and have 20, 30 plums as a meal is an incredible experience. But then they also dehydrate down into prunes as snacks, and dates do. And if you dehydrate persimmons, it's one of the most incredible things you can have. But yeah, these things are naturally organic, I think, as a part of our process.
One thing I want to add with the eating when I experienced, because I had potatoes a lot, is that the cravings come back with it. The cravings for other food. It's like a igniter for cravings, at least in my experience.
Definitely.
Versus when I was just doing my fruits, my juices, my smoothies, those cravings never came, which made it easier on the journey. But the moment I was like, oh, let me have some boiled potatoes, Himalayan salt, and my mashed guac, it was filling. It was very heavy, but what came after that was what made it difficult. Oh, now I'm craving it again, or now why is that why am I craving that now when I wasn't, a week ago?
Yeah,
So
and you
something
rise
happens
hungry.
That's but John, Brother John, exactly what you just said. You've just answered the question, because that's kind of why I answered it, because I was the same. I was like, I did the juice fast. I even did 9 days of water. I didn't crave the crisps. I didn't crave the potato. And now I've had the potato one day, I want to have it the next day, and I don't let myself, but I feel like I could eat it every day. And then I go to the supermarket, the same supermarket where I was passing the crisps for like 22 days, never wanted one, went straight to the fruit and veg, and now I'm going to the crisps and I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm watching this happening and I couldn't understand why. And you've just said it. It must be because of the eating the cooked potato, because I haven't done
Yeah.
anything else different.
You will
That's-
rise
Yeah,
the
whether
next day starving. You'll notice that once you've had a cooked meal,
Yeah.
you'll wake up with hunger pangs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That were never there. It's like
Yeah.
20, 22 days.
And this goes back to being the observer. When you're away, when you have that level of awareness, you can start to question what changed. Why is that happening? Is it now because certain parasites are having to be generated again
Yeah.
to break down that food? And they say we have two brains, one up here and one in our stomach. So then you start to try to put these pieces together. What's really happening? It's like, man, the next day you want to eat everything. You're like, I had a potato. Brother Josh said this potato was fine. He did. So now when I eat it, it's not eating that potato for the meal. I'm like, are the cravings after going to be worth it? Do I have it in me this
Yeah.
strong, my schedule, to battle these cravings wherever I'm at? So, now you look at it from a different perspective. But like Brother Josh said, when you're in an abundance of fruit, so I have 3 little ones, and we grew our little garden. We had maybe 4 or 5 trees, but the kids enjoyed it. They loved being out there. The feeling you get just being in nature. And I'm ready to challenge all these fast food places and say, okay, I have a forest of trees and I have 100 people here. Let's see who can serve these 100 people the fastest.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have the knife throwing bananas, throwing the persimmons. And not only is that true fast food, but that's also heal thy fast food, healthy fast food, right? And that's where the environment, it's just so important to be around the right environment. Brother Josh and I, we've been year and a half. That has been our talk. We have to get together, our families, one way, some way, somehow. And all these things have happened, but we also understand that we have to be the observer of this reality, and everything that's happening in its present moment is there for a reason. So we
You're
know
in
it's going to happen.
California, aren't you, Brother John? I'm sorry, we didn't say. He's in California.
Yeah, Southern California, LA County. So yeah, it's great to finally join and see all these great people that have been able to experience and share and learn and go through a similar journey from what I experienced. That's why I told Brother Josh, I said, I know I've been quiet, I said, but after hearing your question and answers, these are a lot of the things that I had to experience. So maybe I'll get on it and try to share it, because I've never really wanted to be on the camera and you hear about what Zoom's doing and China owns, all the videos and things like that. But I said, you know what? I came across a passage and I wanted to share this based on what Dory and you guys shared with the fear. Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So that fear that we're experiencing, that not wanting to let go of the materialism, whether it be we don't know how or we're just not ready to let go, that's not of our higher self, because fear was never from the higher self. That's from the lower self. And in this journey, that's what we're learning how to let go of and to overcome. So now that you recognize that it's there, it's what are we going to do from this point, knowing that this is just something trying to hold me back. It's there for you to grow. It's there for you to learn. And once you do that, you're going to receive the gift. On the water fast, and if I'm chopping up, just let me know and I can stop my video. But
No, you're good.
You're fine.
December, right? We were all preparing for the winter solstice. Brother Josh and I talked about this a year ago, the 21st, what's going to come about, right? I passed out one time. I was just following my partner into the room and she said, "Come on, let's go grab our juice." And I just, boom, hit the floor right behind her.
Wow.
And all I remember is her yelling my name. She's like, get up. Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was just in a complete state of bliss. I was just smiling at her. She's like, "Oh my God, you hit your head, your face slammed on the floor." And I'm smiling at her. She's all like, "See, you're not eating enough." And she's just telling me all these things and I'm smiling, but I told her, no, that's the energy's trying, my sacred oil is trying to rise and it's blocked. And then she kind of took a step back. She's like, "Oh, that's right. We're on this journey. That's what we've been preparing for." So she kind of took a step back. She's like, "I was ready to call the ambulance and throw a burger in your mouth." I was like, no, no, this is what the preparation was. And December was, I mean, the experiences that I had in December were, it was just extra confirmation for me. There were another 2 days where I couldn't get out of bed. The pain was too much. I had body aches. I had a headache. If I would have got tested, they would have said I'm COVID positive, but we know that's there's no COVID, right? So I was in bed 2 different days. The first day, I'm like, what's happening to me? And then I looked it up and I said, this is part of the ascension process. You're going to feel some pain. You're going to feel body aches. And I had it all. The next day, I was 100% fine as if nothing happened. The story I want to share is the third time it happened. My partner and I had just finished juicing maybe 100 apples. I was peeling and chopping and she was juicing. And as she went to go wash the stuff, I said, "Hey, it's happening again. My body, I feel my body, the pain, the headache, it's coming." So she said, "Okay, let's stop." And I just sat in the rocking chair. But this time it was different because once she left the room to go wash and I was by myself, a huge amount of emotion just took over my being. I just started to pour out in tears. I couldn't hold it back. Nothing sad happened. We were just doing our apples. And I told her, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have, it's one of those days, I'm just gonna have to sit here and go through this." And I told my being, I said, "I accept this. If this is part of the process, I welcome it." And I was ready for it. But this time I just couldn't stop crying. And I just wanted to reach out to all the people that were here with me and just tell them how much I loved them. And being the observer, I said, I think my heart chakra finally bursted in this time. Because before it happened, there was tension in my chest. And all these experiences, right? One can say, am I really not eating enough? Why is my body sore? I'm getting headaches. Uh-oh, now my chest is starting to hurt. But because of the guidance that Brother Josh has been able to provide, I knew that I'm going through this process. The work that I've done for a year and a half it's finally here, and I have to embody it. I have to observe it and receive everything that comes with it. And I kid you not, I told my partner, I said, "Hey, bring the kids in one by one," and I spoke to their spirit. I thank them for being with me. I thank them for trusting me in this journey. I hugged them, told them all I love them. And if I've ever done anything in this existence that may have not been what it should have been, to forgive me. And there was literally like a connection happening within a different realm. Because my youngest son, he's only a year and a half. When he was sitting with me, he wasn't looking at me, but my partner was looking at him. She said he was just tearing up. He was just tearing up with you. And I'm just holding him and rocking him and telling him I love him. And then we were just in silence, but there was a motion that my body kept doing. I couldn't stop like tapping on my foot and rocking back and forth. It just had to continue as this emotion was there. And that is when I can truly say, I said, I felt that connection with a different realm. While being in my body, there was a connection happening there was a conversation happening with these other spirits that were around me. Called my mom, my dad, my partner, my sister, my kids, and I embraced all of them, and they felt it. And there was even a time that I felt this was where we're currently staying at was my grandfather's home, and I felt like he was talking to me. And at that moment, it's like, am I connecting with a different realm in a sense? Am I able to, because we have this expectation that if I get these six senses, so to say, right, the movies have us perceive it a certain way, but it's different. There's just that knowingness that takes over within your being. There's like a connection that you can't explain what's there, but you feel that something's there. And it was it was a beautiful experience. And that's when I kind of came through and I reached out to Brother Josh and I said, we got to share this. We got to get it out to all those that, stuck on this journey and did it. Because it's not easy. It is not easy to be on this journey, especially when you're by yourself, when you're still existing in this matrix. You don't have the support. Even people that go to rehab, they have support systems, and we're just like they stop the drugs, we're stopping the drugs from food and the ego and everything that this world has basically put on us. So it's good to see this community. And when that happened, when my heart chakra, I feel is what it was, burst, that I reached out to Brother Josh. I said, it's real. I really felt it. Let's get it out to your people. And I mean, the community has just grown, and it's beautiful to see others engage in it. So I'm here for support. I'm here for questions. I went through it all, from the cravings to failing to I'm not gonna talk to Brother Josh because I'm at a restaurant eating something here that I'm not supposed to, and he's probably gonna sense it within me, So I've been there, but now that connection, now that I truly felt that connection, it's there is no such thing as going back from here. It's just to progress forward and to find other like-minded beings to join on the journey.
I think we all felt that with you, Brother John.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you for sharing that. There's a question that was just saying, was this during the juice fast and the water fast you did for 23 days? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the juice fast, during the juice fast. Yeah. And that's what really gave me the strength to get through that water fast, just knowing that it's working, it's coming. So the water fast was not easy either, but I had that in me. That energy was still within me, and that's what guided me to get through those 3 days. I think on the second day of my water fast, I didn't have too much strength, but I took the kids to the park and we try to find new parks for them to enjoy. And this park had massive trees. And the first thing we did was, with my kids, I grabbed their arms and we hugged a tree. And I just got a burst of energy. I called Brother Josh. I said, is this why you hug trees? Is this what they talk about, tree hugging? Because it was like for Tesla cars, right? Where you go plug in. I just plugged in with this tree and got my batteries recharged. I don't know if it was the tree or just being out in nature. I said, but something gave me energy that I didn't have when I walked out that car. So just being that observer, experiencing it, willing to, everybody's there looking at us with their mask, and there's me and my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old hugging a tree with no mask, and they're probably like, what's wrong with these people? And then you just look at them and smile and say, peace with you. So yeah, it's these things that we gotta let go of what we think we know and just get out there, be with nature, try the things that we hear. And this is a great community. And I mean, Brother Josh, the guidance and the gnosis that he shares makes it easier. And that's why I wanted to join and provide the support that led me here, that provided me with the ability to go through this awakening and to share it with others, because that's what we're here for, to be here for our brothers and sisters and to experience our journey, find our path, and to touch others that we come in contact with on this path. And that's all the little faces I see in boxes here.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that Dietrich, is that everything that you wanted to ask today?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much to
Yeah.
both of you. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. I think it'd be quite a good time as well to say, during your brother John, during the time that we spent, we managed to spend some good quality time on the phone, and we were exchanging for long periods of time most evenings, and
Yeah.
you really did the work, and this is why you're getting the reward, because you truly actioned everything that I could advise you to do, and you found that space within yourself. And as a part of the healing as well, you had some, I remember about a year ago that your nan was having problems with it. Was it a lung?
Yeah, hard time breathing.
Yeah. And then is she 83 at the time? Is that right?
Yeah, about 83.
83.
82, yeah.
And then through what I shared with John and his healing journey, he was able to pass that on to the knowledge of his family, whether it's a hard thing to introduce because you have to be ready and receptive, but your nan experienced some healing, didn't she, through the proper foods. And
Yeah.
it was wonderful that John was able to share that with them. Is there anything you want to share maybe about that and how you experienced healing modalities with foods and how people can almost return to diets and then these ailments come back, etc.?
Oh yeah, it's for someone, for a being that's 83 that lived within this matrix and their happiness was really enjoying food. Um when we would come to visit her, she was in a two-story. Sometimes she wouldn't even come down the stairs because it would take her long, and one of her knees had arthritis, so you really saw the pain. And her health started to decrease. She was starting to cough a lot. When she would cough, you'd hear the phlegm. We know phlegm's generated within the body. It's the acid buildup from bad diet, candida. And it was getting to a point where someone who did not want to go to the doctors ever was now starting to go. And my mom knew that I was on this journey, and she takes care of her mom, which is my grandmother. Said, what can I do? I said, she's gonna have to change her diet. This is all the acidity and the toxins that we're consuming on a day-to-day basis. If we don't provide her body with what it needs to fight this off, it's gonna lose the battle eventually. So even my grandmother was at the point where she said, okay, I'll do whatever you say, just tell me what I have to do. So we put her on juicing, raw vegan, no oils, no, basically what Brother Josh teaches. And she started to see the change. The coughing started to slow down. The energy started to come. She was now, when she would go with my aunt, she was walking at the beach. For someone who couldn't go down the stairs, now had the energy to be walking at the beach and enjoying being outdoors. But after she went through that, she ended up staying with my aunt for a little bit, and they obviously couldn't keep up with the juicing because it's a lot of work, the juicing and doing all those things. And now her health is again starting to decline. And obviously the cognitive dissonance of, oh, well, we're just aging, we're getting old. And you say you don't get old in 6 months from being able to walk in the beach and enjoy outdoors, and then now you have to stay in the room again. But they don't have that level of observation to say what changed, what could have led to this. And the only thing that changed was what the being was consuming. And that's more proof that it's in what we put, it's what we put in our bodies. That's the importance. We can heal anything. She was again, from someone who couldn't walk down the stairs to then being able to enjoy a mile walk plus outdoors with no pain.
The spiritual body needs to be ready though. You can help people so much, but again, if it's not their time, it's not their time. And this is when you must learn to
Yeah.
step back and then allow people to be, because once they've experienced that, if they don't find the synchronicity with the wellness, they'll naturally fall back into the old ways and then accept what's coming. But we, as beings that are seeking for this ultimate truth, we can find it initially through our food, and then we work on our mind. And we really need that laser focus to be able to find the aspects of the illusory mind, the egoic mind, and to be able to allow that space to quiet down, to stop the voices, to stop the chatter, and to stop the play, stop this constant overlay within our observations. And then doing so, we'll find that balance and peace within the spiritual sense as well. And then we have this climate change going on within our systems, and then we need to activate, which is another heightened perception. We have light and we have double light, but this would all be a part of our teachings for everybody to action just through slow processes as we're doing. So it's going to naturally happen organically, but this is uncapped. The impossible is I'm possible, and our capabilities are capped abilities. And as I said, the abilities are our by-lights, and this is where the Bible comes into play. And this is all to do with magnetism. The magnetism is the key here, and this is only the beginning of the journey. So it's just wonderful to share it with everyone. Someone else has their hand up, and Shanti, would you like to unmute your mic, sister?
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. It's so inspiring to hear to brother Josh and John. And it is so inspiring because you remember, Josh, that I also passed out during my fasting juice, the 14th day.
Yep.
Still, we don't understand how it happened, because we were meditating with my husband in the same room, and I only remember that I wanted to go to the bathroom. I opened the door, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. The next thing, my husband is next to me, and he's saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then I said, "How I came here? I was sitting on the floor in half lotus. I don't know how it happened, but I was not conscious for a few minutes. I don't know how it happened." And my husband noticed, because there was some bottles of water around, and the bottle started sounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then he noticed that actually I was on the floor. I don't know. Very, very interesting.
The energy is so powerful within inside of us, and if it is trapped, it can create that environment where we just kind of shut off for a second. It's almost like a surge of electricity, and then the power goes off. You can see that within the electricity manifestation within your house and circuits. So all that's happening is there's an energy surge within the body that can't flow properly. Now we're slowly, subtly creating that environment that can inhabit this powerful energy, because it's so strong. It's so strong it'll light up the room. And what we are doing, as I said, is this journey of 2021. We will create the vessels within ourselves and the spiritual capacity to have this energy and transform it, transmute it. And the word transformation itself is T-Ra-N-S-4-M-A, the ions, which is the physical sun ending the sine wave for the mother's physical ions, which is the true reciprocation of our energy field. And in doing so, if you understand the magnetism and this dipolar state, the dipolarism is when the positive and the negative at such a point, they release plasma. This plasma, P-L-asma, is the light of the L as the mother. Now, this is the true force. Sorry, it says my internet is unstable. This is the true force of creation. this plasma. Now, as the magnetic field generates and it touches at this dye state, this is plasma creating the inertia plane, which allows existence and consciousness to play in a manifestation of a physical reality. So this is all about increasing the energetic flow from electricity to fully magnetized. And we are very much hopefully going to create this space within all of us here, and then live in community spaces, nature, and to be able to help bring forth this within many beings. But you're experiencing something which is common, but also uncommon at the same time. So just constantly work on the energy that could be blocked. Now, energy is only blocked by not allowing the thought processes to just leave and naturally flow, and the ideas that we have accumulated create this senses through our energy systems, the chakras as such, and we'll feel them, whether it be the chest, the throat, the head, the headaches in our lower abdomen. And by letting go is truly to receive. Everything that you have an idea of must be surrendered, and surrender it to God. Everything is happening exactly as it should be. Remain the observer in all situations and surrender. A thought comes, surrender it. And the quicker you can surrender it, the more you will find yourself being able to exist in this blissful state with a higher energy field. It does take a few years if you've just begun the journey of real focus. You have to really acknowledge the fact that there's something going on within inside the physiology of the mind. And as they come, surrender. And you keep doing this, surrendering it. And you will get better at it each time. And you have to recognize the ego, which is recognize it and stop it. And then when you find that presence, which is the self, which is the observer of everything, is to recognize that. And every moment, remember that you are the observer. You're having the experience. You are able to watch this experience. And then in that recognition, you will find this space. And then you can harness higher energy through this. But also you have an occult system here, which is the hidden system. And our physiology can interact with this magnetic energy around us in such a way that mastery over these systems within our body that are kind of automatic or autonomous. This is where we're going as well. So it could go on for hours, a talk like this, but I'll leave it there. But we all have magnificence within us, and mag comes from the magic, which is the magnetism, and the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9 is the magnify sense. So we'll leave that there. Donna has put her hand up. Shanti, is there anything else you would like to say? Sorry.
Yes, I would like to say many things. Yeah. After this pass out that I had, somehow the next day I started immediately with water. So I started with the fasting water and was okay. But I didn't report you, but I wish to tell you now. On the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd was our last days of water, was 10 days we did water.
Mm-hmm.
And we were also doing silence, 21, 22, 23 with water fasting and in silence. So it was very powerful. But the 21st was so bad. I have so much pain in the body. I went out of bed. I couldn't. I just have to come back, drink the juice and come back and drink. And I felt 21st, okay, we continue in silence because we were not talking to each other, and then just drinking the juice and each one to the bed and nothing. And then I thought, oh, I cannot do it one day more because it's too much for my body. I cannot do it one more day. But we continue. And I didn't realize that my husband was the same. We both were, oh, we cannot do it one day more of water. But after all, we heard that many people were having these exhausting feelings because the 21st downloads and the whole thing. So we realized because on the 23rd, finally we say, okay, we drink our first juice in the evening. but was not the fasting. I think was the whole process that we were going through that we feel that, because afterwards we are quite normal.
I think in that sense of remembering the experience that you're having is obviously individual to your experience, and in that particular time that you must remember that you are not the body
Yes.
and you are not the mind.
Yes.
And to really conquer that in that moment, there would be a shift of energy within yourself, and then these things would flow naturally and you would find all the ailments would be alleviated. So
What
surrendering is the key.
one thing that I know that we both noticed is just going to the forest, hugging trees, grounding. This really changed the energies, and you feel much better. So
Wonderful.
hugging trees is really magic. We just do that. Okay, now this was the fasting. Now I wish to ask the same about what Riti was saying and everybody. You know, for me the craving is all what I need is a little warm water and put guacamole on it. And this is my soup. All this is what I need. This is my biggest craving. It is okay to do that. And I don't even boil the water, you know.
Uh-huh.
I just put the distilled water in another pot with water. I warm a little. I put a little salt. And my craving is just that, to eat guacamole soup.
It's not
Is
much to ask. You know, you've gained great mastery over the self within this physical aspect with food, and those type of things there aren't going to cause you any problems at all. So, you know, feel free to do these things. It's about the mastery. It's about knowing that what you're putting into your body serves great purpose for you. But you're still consuming great water, you're still consuming great fruit. And the only thing I can say that's bad about salt is that when you're looking at rebuilding or restructuring an intestine that has lack of good bacteria, shall I say, is that it doesn't help the accumulation of good bacteria.
okay.
So that's just one thing to look at.
Yeah, but one thing I also want to say, because I noticed that my digestion is a little hard. But I think, what is wrong with avocado? What is wrong? I mean, it gets a little hard and it's not easy to eliminate afterwards.
Is it just after you've been fasting though? Because your body will naturally get used to these things and what it's going through, but through that initial input of food is kind of just a shock to the weight and the feeling of something going inside. So the best thing to break the fast on again is like the papayas and the soft fruits, but you
Yeah,
will find discomfort.
we did like a week with soft fruits,
Uh-huh.
but it's only these last 2-3 days that I really crave for a little salty water with guacamole. But I notice when I take this,
Yeah,
it gets harder digestion.
I would say it's more of the salt than the guacamole, and you'll notice that if you have a delicate digestive system with sort of fresh new bacteria, if they're going to have the salt on them, we all know what salt does to tissue. For example, with slugs, you see it dries them up, and it has a slight similar effect inside the system. But as we continue to put these things into our body, there is a slight resistance.
Okay.
And then it feels better. But in knowing that the fruit is the key, I mean, we just need to find this space. And, you know, currently we're not really in that position, but 2021, I think, is the year to find this and then make the choices from there. But you're doing great. And if you can maintain, you know, fasting juice, fasting fruit, and some guacamole, is a very high form of eating. So you will find the discomfort. The more pure you'll get, you'll find it. If you go back to maybe a few years ago where you could eat the garlic and the chilies and the oil and the fats and the rice and the bread, and even if you made these things yourself and then you tried to eat them now, you would notice a massive level of discomfort within your body.
what Brother George said, it resonates so much to us because we say, okay, sometimes okay, you crave to eat something delicious, something cooked, and then we think, okay, we eat that, but what?
Mhm.
The price that you pay for it is too high because then you feel uncomfortable, you feel heavy, you feel more sleepy, and no. So thank you. We naturally don't feel attracted to eat delicious food because you know the price is too high.
Mhm.
So you want to feel light, you want to be more awake, you want to feel more disconnection. And I also wanted to share one experience that we have when we go shopping. You know, it's so beautiful because you connect with the fruit that you buy.
Mhm.
You simply because unfortunately these markets, even if they say it's organic, I mean, doesn't mean anything because sometimes you buy something organic and you keep for weeks on the shelf and you mean it's not organic. So when I go to the shop, I have to feel it, and it's so beautiful to have the feeling of the feedback of the fruit. Then
Mhm.
I take it. But it's beautiful this feedback of the things, you know, when you yeah, when you just live.
I think that's a very important thing to say. And, as our awareness has been focused predominantly within a system, matrix control, TV, electronics, and houses and these types of things, as you become more receptive and perceptive to nature, there's a completely different magical experience that happens. And
Yes.
if you have that level of connection with shop bought food, having the ability to walk through a garden or a food forest with different types of energetic foods, all in an individual informative state, that every food has an information, every different type of food has its own resonance and interacts with you on such a different level.
Mhm.
You heighten these perceptions and you build these perceptions, and truly that there is nothing that is impossible. It is just pure perception. So having conversations with plants on a real energetic level is truly possible, but it is your perception and where you choose to focus your intent and love and will with. There is nothing that you cannot do, cannot have. It is a progressive journey. So taking these actions and steps towards these spaces, your experience can increase function every single day, but the action must be there for you to get into that state. And this is why the virtue system is so key, because the diligence mastery is bringing yourself to a space that you can action your heightened perception senses to levels which haven't been experienced here before. And we have only got ourselves to answer to the experience we're having. So I hope that can help people move
Yeah.
forward in some way.
Thank you so much. And the last thing that I want to say is like Liz and Riti and probably many of the ex family, we are ready for the change. We were already looking for mobile homes to just get one mobile home and move to some area where we could just be in nature, just, yeah, all what you talk about the community, we just resonate and we are just ready to go. We are one of the first 600 people that you have in your community.
I think it's so important, we'll just allow this beginning of this year just to settle in, and we need to focus, and those that are looking to do things together, the power in numbers, I really feel like it's so key to make sure everybody has their own space. I don't want to be one of those
Yes.
places or communities where people are constantly on top of each other, because I feel like that builds ego and people pretend that they're happy. People don't say things, they don't express themselves honestly, and then this caps a type of emotion inside the being. And we're looking for people to be free, to be able to be happy, to have their own expression. But we all need food to live, and we're all seeking for higher forms. So the most important thing we need to do is create an environment where we can feed ourselves free from any commerce, free from any type of poison, have them interactions with plants, have that natural side of us return. The supernatural powers come from being supernatural. And to be able to interact with these foods, like I'm saying, there is nothing greater, there is nothing more increasing of your powers and your capabilities than nature. It is possible to create a storm by sitting down and focusing your intent and sending that electromagnetic energy to the sky. It can be done 100% just by being still in nature, utilizing your energy and creating a symbiotic relationship with your surroundings.
Beautiful. We are there.
Good. Well,
Thank you. Thank
let's
you.
make this year special, and
Yes.
there's no time like the present.
Yes.
Oh.
We are there.
Thank you so much, Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you, both brothers, sisters, everybody. Thank you.
Beautiful. Have a wonderful evening. We had a question earlier on, Brother John, and it was about pet food and transitioning, say, a dog to eating vegan. I'll share a little bit of set, but you have some animals that you feed vegan right now, do you? And yeah.
Yeah. So when everything happened, the pandemic and not having the kids being able to be out and going through this journey and trying to connect with nature, I got 2 goats and about 20 little chicks for my kids and us in our little garden. And you really start to see how nature is supposed to work. You see how the chickens will till your land and eat the bugs and fertilize your dirt. And the goats, they fertilize and they trim your trees for you. And you see how everything works in harmony versus the Matrix world thinks this is food. But when you're able to take that step back, you say, wow, this is how nature's supposed to be, right? Because people say, oh, what do I feed my plants? What am I supposed to do? What nutrients am I supposed to give it? Well, when you are around these other sentient beings, you can see, oh, it's just a cycle. Just like with us, the plants feed them, they feed the plants. And it just goes round and round. All my plants, well, my plants and my animals, they're on a plant-based diet. There are no chemicals. The place I bought it at, my goats, the brother of the owner said, "Oh, I got goats too, but they died on me. I don't know what happened." He's like, "How are your goats doing?" I said, "They're thriving. They're thriving. Why? Because we're plant-based, so all of our watermelon peelings go to them. Um, Lettuce, the stems of the veggies of kale, peelings of cucumbers, and I mean, healthy animals. They are very healthy. And then we got a dog, and I said, okay, I'm gonna put him on a plant-based diet, no dog food, no nothing like that. And then you start to see, wow, he likes dates. They like the coconut meat. Um, they'll eat all these different things when we're thinking they need dog food. Everything's provided to us in nature. Everything you can, and when you're able to see it firsthand and take a step back, you're like, wow, this is a beautiful cycle. Look at how everything just works in harmony together. And it's so peaceful. When we were, Brother Josh, they travel with their van, and I told my partner, I said, I know it's going to be difficult. I know we don't have a big van. We only have a minivan, but let's go see how it is to take the kids out in nature in this small little van. And then you start to truly realize how much you really need. And it's very little. You just need the beings around you and community.
Children keep up busy wherever they are, and nature is a child's best friend. And in observing, because children learn by observation, they really know the secrets of this life if they just get to play with the soil. It's not dirt, it's earth, and everything in this wonderful existence needs the earth. It's so key. And as our animals graze on the plant-based foods, the minerals, even within ourselves, are excreted that the body doesn't need through urine. Now, in the governmental system, we have a toilet, and all we're doing is wasting our urine down to a toilet to be recycled back into our systems. The trees and the plants and all of these things need water, and they need the minerals from your urine. And this, if you look into African growing, they're told that it burns the plants and things like this, but there is a significant amount of urine being wasted across this world, and our soil needs it. And then in turn, it gets reabsorbed back into the plants to bring fruitful fruit again. All of the waste that we have, the peelings, they can be fed to the animals. And in observation of wild animals, you'll find that wild dogs, they go into a tree, even young children, if you just watch them, they'll walk to a tree and wee on it. And a dog will reverse into a tree and take a number 2 there. And all of these things here are naturally ingrained in everybody until a mum or a dad says, no, don't do that. Don't do this. Come over here and do it in the toilet. So we just need to bring these things back as well. And even Victorian days, they had bedpans where they would keep, they would urinate in the steps. And what would we have done without toilets? Well, the land takes care of that for you, and it works its way back into the land and creates fruitful soil. But because we don't have any trees or any beings that are interested in trees in a city, and the programming's gone deep into the rural areas, it's hard to bring this back. But again, it's so simple. There is nothing complex about this journey, and it's a natural experience and evolution as we grow and progress. But the advice I would say to anybody that's looking to feed a dog plant-based is, vegetarian dogs live up to their around about 30. So if you are willing to take this journey and play around with what your dog likes, because it may be transitioning itself through a Western diet of dry food, you'll notice that the dog won't want to drink as much, for one, if it's having fresh fruits and vegetables, because they're hydrated and they're not drying out foods. But peppers, raw peppers, incredible. Raw sweet potatoes are incredible. Dates, they love peas. They love, if you're cooking, they like rice, they like oats, they like mashed bananas, any type of fruit. Don't give them anything that contains large stones, but if you do and you watch them in nature, they'll pick around it naturally. But again, some dogs have lost their senses, so just be careful if you're trying to bring the senses back. Avocados, incredible. If I was to say making a standard, like a meal for a dog that's transitioning or just trying to keep them strong through the period, would be to cook up some rice and cook up some potatoes, and then things like asparagus or broccoli, you could mash that in with them, and then make a bulk meal of this to feed them with as a normal feeding pattern, but give them snacks throughout the day and constantly give them things that you're trying to transition them to. We helped heal dogs for a while when we were in Spain previously, and a dog was being put down. He had about a week and a half to live or to be put down on. He was constantly being sick and he couldn't keep any food down. And this boy entrusted in us to tell him to go plant-based and feed his dog natural things. So we mashed bananas, we fed them dates and peppers and raw broccoli, because dogs naturally would use their feet and dig into the ground and take things such as carrots and potatoes, sweet potatoes, these types of things. And he's still alive to this day, and that was 4 years ago. And he started to eat. He recovered within, say sort of 7 to 8 days, and it was one of those things that really you don't really have an understanding of until you can really step back and see that the labeling on the food was similar to like a modern day protein shake. So it was containing all the whey, which is a toxin that used to be skimmed off the milk and thrown away, but it's added into a lot of food. And then everything was chemically induced. A lot of pea protein, fiber, and these types of things, which are no good. If you look at some flour, it's a dead matter. The body can't absorb it. It's toxic. It's hard for the digestive system and the body. So to be able to give something live is to bring life back into the being. We're going to do a lot of pet information on the website so it can help people transition and these types of things. So I will leave that there. But again, dogs are absolutely fine to eat plants, fruit, vegetables, raw or uncooked. They have a shorter digestive system than us, so they can handle cooked food a lot better than humans. And I know people would say that you're trying to promote this raw stuff and uncooked because it's not so good. It's not so good, but I do also understand that it is hard in the spaces we live in to provide fresh, raw, living foods. It can get very expensive. So do what you can do with your pets and know that they will thrive. Even cats live better and longer with cooked or raw food in the plant form. It's just unfortunate that we have a system that shows us these predators need to consume meat, but over time, the things that they could have consumed previous have been lost because the trees aren't there anymore. And most of the animals that we do see around us are commercial. They've been bred specific for ownership of humans rather than natural in their wild environment. Is there anybody else that would like to ask any questions today?
I do want to chime in, Brother Josh, on a few points that you made. When we grew like our persimmon tree, it was one of our bigger trees, but it's not that old. It gave us maybe let's say 30 pieces of fruit. We grew it the natural way, and we loved it so much that we then wanted to go get some at the store, but the flavor was night and day. So it's truly a difference when you're properly when your plants get fed properly, our bodies get nourished even better. And you can look into the boxer. His name is Juan Manuel Marquez. He drank his pee during the times when he was preparing for a fight, because they knew that there was mineral content in there that was useful for his body. So when we provide that to our trees, we're providing it with minerals, but not only that, there's going to be a connection with that plant because it has the minerals that our body produced, that it's been fed. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And I know Brother Josh has talked about this many times, feeding your plants properly, giving it the right minerals so that it can nourish us better than what we find in those stores. Because
Good point. I'd like to say there that urine is a byproduct of our blood, and they do sell blood, bone meal, etc. from the garden industry. But what's happening is there's a part of your plasma within inside your wheat, which is an intelligence that the plants interact with. And in doing so, the minerals that are lacking within your system is similar to when you suck a seed and then you plant the seed, that it actually grows a more efficient mineral system in symbiotic relationship with your body. But again, plants are truly magnificent, and we have no idea truly of how far we can take this world, but we're getting there and we're growing in that space with our awareness that we have now. But it's a really good point, Brother John.
Really and let's remember that this commerce world, the reason they have to make all these different foods and medicines is because they cannot patent nature. You cannot patent what nature has created, and there's no money for them. Medicine, right? CBD, cannabis plants, even if you want to consume that, if you want the benefits of that, but you don't want that high feeling, you can grow a plant and just juice the leaves and replenish your endocannabinoid system, which I worked with a microbiologist who he used his medicine and what he created to cure thousands of people with his CBD oil. you replenish that master health system within your body. Even my chickens like it. My chickens will be picking at the leaves on the plant.
Mhm.
Sometimes it'll fall, sometimes I'll see my dog eat it, but I believe that plant is that's true medicine. And that's why they've kept it from being legal for so long, even when they owned a patent on the health benefits of CBD 20 years ago. So we have to remember when people want to incorporate different types of food or dried dog food, remember that all started from plants, but it wasn't financially beneficial for them. So they had to create something so that they can create a patent and sell it for profit. But everything starts off in nature. Some of the biggest painkillers, Tylenol or Advil, that all started with the willow bark tree. The willow bark is what is used to relieve the pain.
Mhm.
They didn't create anything. It's always been in nature. They just had to try to find a way to make it profitable so that they can exist in this commerce world, this matrix that we're in.
And you only feel pain in that separation from source.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these things are created because of the things that you have been using or utilizing to a system that's not one with creation. And all we need to do is remember that if we want to progress and heal ourselves, that we must go back to the simplest form of living, which is nature and natural. That is exactly where we all need to be progressing to actually raise our awareness, is to go back to nature. It's so key.
They create the problem so they can sell the solution.
Exactly. And the true solution is soul UT ion, which is the sun or the soul of your physical ions, which is what we need to connect to, which is the divine. It's all there for us to see. I can see that Donna had raised her hand. Would you like to say something, Donna?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One is for either you or John. I'm on day 10 of my second 20-day juice fast.
Wow.
And plan to carry it out with the 3 days of water again.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not losing the extra weight that I have. So I just wondered, in your experience, is it better to continue this until I get to the weight I would like? Or is it better to stop at some point and refeed for a while on raw foods, of course, and then do this again, which would be a more gradual way of doing it?
I would say that it depends on how you approached this before. If you had, or if you come into this with a high metabolic rate, the weight loss is going to be a lot faster. So if you were coming from a steady 1 meal a day into this diet, you probably would have had a slower metabolism. And if you went into a refeed and you were to raise regular meals every 1.5 to 2 hours, you'll find that this will raise the metabolic rate, and then to do a juice fast again will eliminate waste quickly. But if you're doing a water fast and fat cells are naturally toxins, that this should really eliminate about 1 pound every single day. Did you say that you're doing a juice fast at the present time, followed by?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And I will follow it with additional 3 days of water.
Okay. And when did you finish? On the 24th or 23rd of the previous one?
23rd of December, and then I did 3 days of water, and then I started back on juice.
Straight away.
And I'm on day 10 now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would say as well, if you look into the consideration that you would have dumped a lot of fluids and glycogen stores from the water fast that you did for those 3 days, that you may have increased a certain amount of weight or glycogen storage through the juice fast. That's sort of made it seem like you haven't actually or aren't losing any weight. So I would continue with the juice fast and just observe it for a few more days, because that regulation may be happening within the system, but you should constantly be losing excess toxins on a juice fast and a water fast. So I would say that's probably where you should be observing at this present time. Just the refilling of glycogen stores that were lost during the water fast is probably the numbers you're looking at, but you are still continuing to lose fat stores rather than weight. Does that make sense to you, Brother John?
Yeah, in my experience on my journey, when I started, and I I didn't go straight into the juice fast. I went through a transition. There were times I was using the restroom 7 to 8 times a day, just toxic waste just coming out, coming out. And to your question, what I've observed within my own being and my partner is also the importance of our muscle structure. It plays a role for a reason. It exists for a reason. And for her, she gave birth to 3 kids. So when she looks at her physique, she says, "Oh, I still have this pouch here. I still have, a little bit of bloating." But what that's taught me is that we should also strengthen our core muscles, which is our abdomen and our back at minimum. And that will also help with your metabolic rate, because the more muscle you naturally have, the more fat you'll naturally burn just sitting here. That's why massive bodybuilders, they have to constantly feed their bodies, because if they don't eat, their body's just going to try to find something to burn off. So during your process, and I know it's obviously I don't recommend this when we're doing any type of water fast, but to just slowly try to strengthen your back, whether it be with like rubber bands, those strength bands, but strengthen your core, because that will help your overall physique, your overall how you look. And when you go back to, let's say, eating again, just naturally your body, because you build muscle, which you're going to build muscle quickly, you're able to maintain a specific weight or a specific physique that you're looking for. Like right now, people constantly tell, "Man, you lost so much weight, you're so skinny." How are you going to build muscle, on a plant-based diet? Where is your protein coming from? So my next transition, and what I'm building my social media, like my Instagram and Facebook for, is going to be, can a fruitarian build muscle? Because if you look at my physique right now, I'm extremely skinny, and I used to work out. I was active, I was in sports. So this is something else that I want to do, is to show when you're feeding your body the proper foods, just look at how you can truly shape it. When we go on our little vacations with my kids and we stay at a hotel so that we can juice for the next couple days, and they have a little gym, I literally work out for 15-20 minutes, and I'm like, whoa, your body is just, the blood flow is just able to stream everywhere. It's flowing so smoothly within your body. And that's more firsthand knowledge, that when you feed it properly, it functions better. And I want to share it with the people. I want to, because we get told so much, how you're too skinny, you're like this, right?
Yeah.
People in the matrix are feeding us. So we want to be able to also support it with our own research and R&D, and to show, look, I'm a fruitarian. Look how skinny I was, and look at the muscle I was able to build. Because it's not the protein that we need, it's the amino acids that our body needs, which it then converts into the protein that we need.
That's exactly right. And I thought I could add to that is, a lot of people think that they need to lose weight by running, and it's the wrong thing to do. If your heart rate goes anaerobic, you basically go into using glycogen stored within the body. So you're using the muscle storage as an energy source. So if your body's in an intense type of workout, it needs the fastest form of fuel, which is glycogen. But if you keep your heart rate slow and steady, so if you're actually looking to be able to do exercise and burn fat at the same time, you would need to keep your heart rate around about 120 beats per minute. I say averaging between the ages of sort of 25, 50, and 60. It's either way 5 or 10, depending on the age. The older you get, the less BP that you want. You actually start to go into a system that will allow the body to burn fat in that motion. So if you keep your heart rate low and you do an hour of say walking, it's not an intense exercise, you'll naturally find the body can then excrete waste and lose weight, and specifically target fat cells, which is something which is key. So when I used to try to when I was learning my own physiology and keeping my body fat to like 2 to 3%, during my bodybuilding days, it was very important for me to understand how my physiology was working. And as John said, the more muscle mass that you actually have, the more fat you burn naturally just sitting down. But that is obviously extreme when you're seeking this size of muscle. But again, in that muscle building, you must consume the amount of food that you need your muscles to be fueled with. So constantly, as somebody that's looking to progress with muscle size, you can only grow the muscle tissue to the amount of food you consume. So if someone's looking for size, they must be consuming constantly every 2 hours food, which keeps your body in the anabolic state, which allows the body to then use the muscle to store the glycogen and allow the fat stores to go. And if you don't maintain every 2 to 3 hours at the latest, you'll find you go in a state of catabolism, which means your body then uses the muscle storage as fuel instantly because it's starting to feel kind of like it's starved. So there's a very scientific approach. All of these things will be brought to light and put in packages on our website so people can just go there and get the information that they need instantly and use it as a support tool, because it does, this knowledge is so vast and it can get quite in depth, but there's really just simple things to follow, and just simple like exercise. On a plant-based diet, you'll find that all your fat stores are going, and they will go, and you just need to maintain it. And cycling intermittent fasting, juice fasting, water fasting is so beneficial for your health. So beneficial.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I have one additional question. I'm homeschooling my grandson, and I find it a bit difficult to keep him motivated. The co-op group we're in is very Christian based. I have a little bit of difficulty with some of their concepts. I know your children are young, yours and John's. Maybe you haven't addressed this yet or made up your mind what to do, but if you could offer some suggestions, I would appreciate that. We have no plan to put him in a public education environment. He was in a private Christian school, but we found it necessary to take him out. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder what your thoughts, or if anybody else in the group has been down this road.
It's great.
I do live on a small farm, and currently we have chickens, but I'm in the process of getting rid of those since I no longer eat their eggs, and make a fruit forest out there in that same area. So he does get out with me, and we do stuff like that, but I feel a need to put him in a group where he is around other kids his age or similar in age, than to keep him just with me all the time with no interaction with the peer group.
What I've learned is to make it enjoyable for them. We've been taught that teaching our kids means you sit them down in front of a whiteboard like I have back here, and you push information on them. When kids can learn other ways, when I sit with my kids and we go through some type of curriculum, I let them choose where they want to go. You guys want to be in here? You want to be out in nature? You want to maybe let's go to a park or a beach, and then we'll dedicate this amount of time to studying, and then we'll allow them to play. That's what I do, and that's what I see them learn the most. That's where I see them progress, where I'm teaching my daughter how to read, and it's so enjoyable that the next time we go to do another lesson, she's looking forward to it. She looks forward to, oh, Daddy, I remember that word. That's what we learned yesterday. And as the day goes on, like you're out in your farm with the chickens, maybe something that was in their homework, you could associate with what they're seeing on the day-to-day. Give them that visual experience as well. That's what I've found to work with my kids. And then as far as having them interact with others, we're constantly taking them to parks or beaches that have playgrounds to let them interact with the kids. But it's a little easier for me because I have 3 and they're very close in age, versus you have your grandson, sorry, by himself. But my biggest tip is just make it fun. Forget about how we were taught in school, the structure that they gave us, as long as he's progressing in the material that you're supposed to teach him, just find a way to make it fun from him, and the kids will pick up on it. The kids will pick up on it, and then try to minimize the amount of programming through the televisions. And I know it's difficult, they're on YouTube. Give them learning games if they need to get on the iPad where there's numbers and letters. Just don't allow the other programs to take over their mind. And that'd be my tip for that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
And
very welcome.
if I could add anything, I would say that kids just want to be like the adults. And I feel like the greatest tool that we can give to a child is for them to be able to take care of themselves. And what's happened in the Babylon world is such as they've been totally separate from being able to be like their mum and dads. Their mum and dads are rushing to do everything for the children, while the children be put into this education system which just promotes left brain indoctrination, so repetition. So they basically have their creativity capped. So if you can put them in an environment where they can just learn themselves, it's the most important thing until the age of 7. As the industry says, give me a child until the age of 7 and I will show you the man. If you give the child nature until the age of 7, it will show you the God. So that's the fundamentals there. You have no need to worry about that special little boy being around other children at this present time, because also other children have negative energies and bad behavior. If you're trying to bring them up true, a child in front of the telly has a truly different design to some child that's connected to nature. So it's not necessarily going to be a nice place for a child who's born in nature to be around other children that aren't. But again, there are places and capacities and things like this that are happening to be able to cater for children who are in the situation that you're in. But know that he will love you and learn to be an absolutely amazing being under your guidance just by being yourself, taking care of him. Because all that a child needs to learn is how to take care, to be able to look after nature, to be able to look after you, and to be able to appreciate things like food and how food is grown, how it's made. And I'd say, my child, my special little being is 4, and he knows magnetism. He knows reading and writing, and his cognitive function. Rode a bike in 15 minutes of being on it. But being able to label every tree, every herb, to be excited about planting, to be able to watch things plant, to be able to learn about pollination and how bees have little sacs on their legs and how they vibrate plants and then they release the pollen. And it's just so important that the fundamental aspects to creation can be shared, and this builds such interest. So there's nothing better than to be able to observe the child, but let nature be its babysitter, I feel.
Excellent suggestions. Thank both of you very much.
Thank you so much for coming and being here with us, and we'll always be here, and we do and will, and are actually working on right now is a section on how to be able to raise children in a high capacity and ideas and things like this as well. So we'll have that as a part of the website. So hopefully that can help many people in this shift. I would like to say I do have someone I need to speak to in 8 minutes who we're helping heal themselves. But I see Lisa had her hand raised and Helen. So if you both would, let's start with Lisa and then we'll go to Helen and make that the last couple of questions tonight.
Hello.
Good day, Sister Lisa.
Hello. 4 quick questions. I'll start. John, thank you for sharing that aspect about I never got that from Josh about what our body needs is the amino acids. That's really interesting. Um, an interesting one were this fruitarian, the Palace of Versailles that people are familiar with in France. Did you know that there are no toilets in that huge place? All these fountains, but no toilets. So
Okay.
it got me thinking how, well, if you're a fruitarian or you're just juicing and stuff, you're not using a toilet. And it just got my mind thinking what either the Palace of Versailles was for an entirely different application that we're not aware of, or there's something we're not being told about that palace. My circus dog here, I'm transitioning, although she's a rescue, and I'm transitioning her onto a raw food. So anybody who does have animals, or at least dogs, I mix in, because I have kibble until it's finished, and I'm mixing sweet potato in, and so I cut down half of the kibble with the sweet, and she loves it, loves it. And then yesterday, for the first time, she was seeing me eat an avocado. I thought, what, you're gonna have some avocado? And just like you said, she likes avocado.
Mhm.
Who would have figured? Next is hemp in Portugal. Are you allowed to grow hemp in Portugal?
It depends on where you're looking at it. Every drug's decriminalized in Portugal, but they don't let you have the seeds as such if you're looking through legislation. But if you're beings free of the earth anywhere in the whole world, you're allowed to grow anything. You know, to be able to say that someone can't grow something natural is really absurd. It's part of God's creation. But to be able to grow hemp, I think, you know, hemp itself without the flower, you know, that's able to be grown anywhere in the world. So if you're looking at just using it as a herb,
No, as a hempcrete, a construction material.
yeah, then if you're making hempcrete, all you'd need to do is just grow the male plant,
Okay.
and then, you know, dry it, bang it, make the hempcrete from that, and then what, you're looking to build properties with hempcrete, yeah?
Well, for the past year and a half, I've been designing. I'm one of these people who think housing is a right.
Uh-huh.
So I've been designing small structures, tiny homes and micro shelters, everything 100 square feet or 10 meters, so that everybody can technically have a place that they can close the door in there for themselves.
Nice.
So that's what so when you were talking about Portugal, I don't know how I'd get to Portugal being in Toronto, with all this crazy flight stuff. How would I, pardon me?
You can still fly. You know, there's flights going all over the world. They just, certain companies that are really heavily involved with the commercial illusion that you can travel to and from. I could book a flight to India right now and go to India. It's just the illusion that keeps us at bay, but there's always a way. You just need to
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was thinking that how am I going to get to Portugal?
No, it's all there.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So then that's I'm finished. I would like to, like, if in Portugal, I would like to attempt to make Rick Simpson oil. Not for myself per se, but to give it to people who need it.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking it's really hard in Canada. Everything is legislated up the wazoo. And I thought maybe Portugal with big land and stuff like that would might be a bit easier.
You will never, when you're in your own land and you have all that space, you're never going to have any regulations unless you register. To register is obviously to then create that regulation, and then you have to abide by certain rules because you've now contracted for checks. But within your own space, within your own garden, you're free to do whatever you wish. Now, is when you try to bring this to the commercial world, it always has these issues as such, because for the corporate world, it needs certain certifications and things like that, but they're not necessary if you're doing it from home for people, for beings that are surrounded with you, and to be able to learn and grow with it, you know. But there's always a way around everything, you know. You just have to sit with it for a minute.
Well, thank you. That's promising. Thank you.
Yeah, and then just to further that amino acid thing, the body, the plants have the glucose and the amino acids, right? And every amino acid in the body makes this protein synthesis. So the protein is the built tissue from the amino acids from the food. So this is why we don't want to consume protein, because it's built and coded from the amino acids that the animal has built as such. Okay, so the true body only builds from amino acids and finds proteins harder to break down to then try to recode into amino acids while trying to fuel the system on glucose stored as glycogen within the muscle. Simple. And then that's why the word itself, amino acid, is amino acid, because it doesn't create acid.
Huh.
And the proteins do.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
Oh,
Is
so
that
John,
Go on.
yeah, so John, what I forgot to say is that I'm trying to attract my family, my blood family, to what Josh is saying. So when you were coming on, I showed them the picture of you before, thinking, oh, the man is anorexic, Lisa. So my family thought you were anorexic, and I didn't. I thought you were lean,
Yeah.
but you call yourself skinny. I don't look at you as skinny.
Mhm.
Just lean, where you were overweight before. And so they can see where you were overweight, but now, oh, you're anorexic. So
I get it all the time, and it's just more programming of this matrix that we're supposed to look a certain way, but then they praise these models on the runways that are very skinny. So my mom's always like, you're a little too skinny, like, and they'll make comments like that. And here's my rebuttal. I say, I can sit down at a buffet for 7 days and then look what you guys would call normal. If you took somebody that was oversized and give them 7 days, they're not going anywhere. So it's easier for me to get in. It's easier to get into those bad habits to just put on weight, which is just acid and fats on the body, versus to really do the work and have a light body like what I have now. But I haven't worked out either. And if that's my next journey, is to show, like you said, because people are like, he's extremely skinny. But now I have the ability to show I went from big to small, and now let's build a nice structure. Because one thing on this journey, especially going through Christmas, is the physique of the body. And Brother Charlie has talked about this, Brother Josh, they've talked about this many times on the show, is the raising of our oil, right? And one thing I noticed, because I was really into fitness, and Brother Josh was too, when these bodybuilders build their back, they go for that Christmas tree. If you go on Google right now and put Christmas tree muscle back, you'll see that the back shapes, when you build the muscle, it actually shapes like a Christmas tree. And as they talk about it, right, it's the pine tree, raising it up, Jacob's ladder, the pineal gland. Even our own muscular physique can show us the truth in what we're supposed to do. I encourage you guys, look up Christmas tree muscle back, and you'll see these buff guys trying to get this little Christmas tree look on their lower back.
I can remember being around about 17, because I started my training journey about 12, and I was, one of the things that I was trying to create was the Christmas tree at the bottom. You have to have a certain level of fat and a certain muscular size, and then you'll be able to see it. And it's as you bring the arms backwards like this, you see a Christmas tree sort of like this, and it's even got the fibers going to the sort of just above the lower back into the mid-range of the back. But it is a certain sign of definition within the body.
now, what are you calling that? If I Google it, what am I Googling?
It's Christmas tree.
Christmas tree
Christmas tree muscle back.
back? Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
that should pull it up on the pictures. Yeah.
Well, thank you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, I want to say one more thing to that is, when I see your picture, if you just focus on your picture and not to the bigger version of you, you just notice that you have very low body fat, but you don't have something which I call is like wrists all the way up, where people have very skinny arms. You've still got, for somebody that doesn't work out, you still have a good muscle mass there.
Yeah.
So you're not skinny at all, but people are just looking from one to the next, but you are lean,
Exactly.
which is a natural way to be. Even with animals, because they're consuming unnatural foods, and beings are having unnatural foods. In the human, we call it meaty. Someone says, "Oh, he's a meaty. I like my girl's meaty. I like this meaty," you know. And all that's happening is this accumulation of water and inflammation around the body, the neck, the joints from eating the wrong types of food that we have, and it creates this look that people think we should be. But if you go back, for instance, to the 1950s and you look at a German Shepherd, and you see how a German Shepherd looks then to now, you'll see that naturally you see the ribs on these animals, but because they're fed toxins, they have this toxic waste that's accumulated around the waist and the body, which is basically inflammation, and it looks different. And we're used to looking at people with inflammation and excess water around the joints and the body, the wrists and the neck. So that's one thing that we've become accustomed to. So it's a really good point, and I just wanted to point that out for everybody.
Yeah. And even if we look at sports, let's say basketball, because in the sport of basketball, you can, when they play, you could still see a lot of their physique, versus football, they're covered up, and hockey, they have all this gear on. If you compare the definition of the physique of the athletes 20 years ago versus them now, you see how much more defined and how much smaller of a structure they have back then. And we always have to go back to the question of what has changed, and it's the food. It's what's in the food. It's what they're putting in the food. Stuff that they sell here in the U.S., they don't sell in the U.K. And we should ask ourselves, why are they allowing this to be sold here and let the Americans eat it? But if I try to go send this to Brother Josh, it's going to get stopped in customs because they don't allow those chemicals to be fed to their people. So it just really boils down to food, and obviously it's just the programming that's out there in the masses, the news, social media, everywhere.
Social
And that's why we're here to find the truth.
experimentation. That's what springs to mind. Is if you look at different areas, even within certain countries, you'll have different pharmaceuticals being pushed in different areas of each country, so they can have this social experimentation to go on to see how it affects beings. Every single type of country, which is a registered business, has their own matrix. You know, within India, it was basically a vegetarian space. And rather than just have the fruits that are there naturally, they've obviously created a very intense spraying of the food there. And it's quite hard to find organic in certain areas, but they focus on, you know, the roti and the rice and the grains as a part of their main food. Now, again, that's separating them from their really higher senses and their higher awareness, because they're a very spiritual nation. And then you look to people in America and you'll see they've been given a heavy, dense matrix with heavy, dense food. That's a completely different structure. And it just goes on, you know, and even in, for example, China, the Chinese have been given a very heavily soybean diet. And then you look at soybean and it's very estrogenic. And then you can see that it's a very feminine energy there. And most people are shorter and smaller. And this is due to the different aspects that they're being fed. So there's so many different levels to this space, so many different levels to each country. And you'll notice that the synchronicities are there when you just be subtle and sensitive and observe. And it's incredible. Every single culture has always got their own individual consciousness traps. It's incredible. So I can see Yelena's just put a hand up, so we'll have that last question and then I must go. So Yelena, would you like to come on and say hi?
Hi Josh, hi John, how are you? Okay, quick question. I'm sorry, this is off topic, but it's a question that I've been meaning to ask for a while. The dream world, when we dream, is it just our consciousness going into overdrive, or are we picking up intuition? What are we doing when we're sleeping?
Good question. It depends on how you sleep and how you dream, depending on how you have mastered or gone into a space of sleep. But naturally, I'd say just the natural beings that are within these systems, it's just parts of your unconscious or subconscious mind that's trying to figure things out. So the things that you have presented to the mind in the conscious state naturally flow back into the subconscious. And what you do in that dream space is just try to break down ideas that you may have or underlying issues and fears, to present them to you in a way that you can then overcome them during sleep or rest, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, because what I feel is that I'm doing some parallel work while I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. And sometimes I get these stories presented to me as if it's a premonition of some sort, or I'm not even sure how to describe it, but it feels like I'm living this other life sometimes while I sleep.
And if you can find mastery over the way that you fall into sleep, again, it's a lot for now, but we definitely will be covering these aspects as we grow. You can almost use your sleep for a space to progress and travel dimensions far beyond you've ever perceived before. So there's just slow, steady mastery, but gaining over your natural sleep right now, I think, is just to be there, observe everything that's going on, but don't get attached as if it is a message or there's something there that's trying to control you. It's just a natural part of your subconscious mind, just figuring things out to be able to overcome fears, anxieties, things that are possibly the unaware aspect of your existence right now, so they can be dealt with rather than being brought forth into a manifestation for you to overcome in your physical experiences.
Right. And I have experienced lucid dreaming where I was in control of the dream a few times. So that kind of made it a little bit more real for me in terms of the dream world, not just being the byproduct of the subconscious.
Yeah.
So yes, it ties in with what you're saying. And yes, I do feel like I'm presented with certain situations in my dream world where I am overcoming certain things, and it doesn't have to be presented to me in this reality where I probably wouldn't be able to deal with it in the same manner.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's that. Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's okay. Well, I was so grateful to Brother John for coming on and being able to meet all of you beautiful beings. Thank you for welcoming here very graciously. Is there anything you'd like to say, Brother John, before we leave?
It's just been truly great to meet everybody, to exist in the same space, to be around beings that are on this journey of truth and awakening, and this support system. It's great. I hope that this continues, and one day we can, meet each other in the physical, and not the artificial intelligence of these computers. But I thank Brother Josh for having me on, and he knows how much I appreciate him and helping me on this journey. And I'm here now to help share my experience, to help those that may be going through something that I already went through, to help you get over it. But I'm here, and I thank you guys for welcoming me into the community.
You do have so much to offer, and I know we've just brought you in, but I'm looking forward to being able to share more and more with everyone about the journey that we shared together, because I can say that you have walked the walk and done exactly as you should in your raising awareness, and I've seen you truly transform. So well done for that, Brother John, and thank you for coming on. Let's look forward to a wonderful 2021.
Yes.
Let's action everything that we know that we should, to progress into the light together and find ourselves together to get her. Have a wonderful day, everyone. So much love and light to you, and thank you so much for your support. I look forward to every Sunday. Have a wonderful, strong, and stay strong. Love you.
Thank you.